Israel has intercepted all the Global Sumud Flotilla boats which were on their way to Gaza. The activists were on a mission to deliver humanitarian aid to the besieged enclave. The flotilla, transporting medicine and food to Gaza, consists of more than 40 civilian boats with about 500 parliamentarians, lawyers and activists from around the world who have now been detained by the Israeli Defense Force. Let's cross to SABC News Correspondent Blake Sifton in Tel Aviv, Israel, to get the latest on this. Blake, in terms of the whereabouts, the well-being, the safety of all of those that were on board, do we have any updates as yet?
Good morning. Israeli authorities say that some 41 boats were boarded and intercepted, and that 400 participants have been detained. They have been originally brought to the port of Ashdod. The prison authorities say that some 200 of them have now been handed into their custody. They're being taken, or have been taken, to a prison in the Negev desert. It's one of Israel's largest prisons. It's a high-security prison that's not normally used to hold so-called immigration detainees, but because of the very large number of participants in this flotilla compared to previous flotillas, holding them was a logistical challenge for Israel, so that's why they're being held at that high-security facility in the Negev desert. Now, they will be processed by immigration authorities for deportation. Yesterday, the Foreign Ministry said they would all be deported to somewhere in Europe. However, the timeline for their deportation at this stage is still unclear. And there's one interesting thing to point out as well, that one additional boat is still sailing toward Gaza. Apparently it suffered mechanical problems, engine problems, and it lagged behind the rest of the flotilla yesterday. However, those mechanical problems have been resolved, and organizers say it is now continuing on toward Gaza. As of last night, it was some 80 nautical miles off the coast of Gaza. And of course, the bulk of these interceptions happen between 70 and 40 nautical miles. So that boat is likely to be intercepted in the coming hours.
Yeah, obviously, as South Africans, we await news of the citizens of our country that are on board. Obviously, there are many of them. But do you have any word whatsoever on the South Africans? Those obviously included is Mandla Mandela, the grandson of Nelson Mandela.
There's no information at this stage of the processing or the point at which certain or individual activists from specific countries are being processed. Of course, the governments of many countries have urged that their citizens be of course treated well, be treated humanely, and be deported, be processed, and be released soon. But at this stage, no, there is no specific information on any specific detainees. Of course, we have to remember these boats were intercepted at various intervals between Wednesday night and really late into the morning on Thursday. So they were brought to the port of Ashdod at different times. They are then being processed there and eventually being brought to this prison at different times. So it is being staggered. So not everybody will be at the same point in the process as each other.
All right, so just for viewers that are watching, the other South Africans, Zugiswa Wana, Riaz Muller and Dr. Fatima Hendricks, they also have been reportedly abducted. Obviously, this being a very different scenario with the high-profile nature of those that have been detained, the individuals that were on those particular flotillas. But just in terms of past experience, I know you said it's very difficult to find timing on what will happen, what happens next when they are deported back to their nations. But from previous examples, do we know, because we know before that this has happened to Greta Thunberg, but you know, in terms of the next steps, do we know?
That's right. We've seen previous flotillas intercepted as recently as June and July. That was involved far fewer boats, and they were processed and deported within days. However, again, it was a much smaller number of participants. Yesterday, I should note as well, was the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur, where much of the holiday shuts down. Much of the country shuts down for the holiday. That might delay the process as well. But we will see over the next few days how this process works. As you say, there are many high-profile participants. There are celebrity activists, essentially, and there are members of parliament from many European countries. So Israeli authorities are under an immense amount of pressure to process process them and release them quickly. One thing as well that's interesting to see is what happens to this humanitarian aid, the food, the medical supplies that all of these 41 boats were trying to bring to Gaza. Before the flotilla arrived, there was some suggestion by the Israeli military that they would tow some of the larger boats to the port of Ashdod, and they might actually sink others at sea. According to them, that has not happened. They have towed all of the boats to the port of Ashdod, so all of the humanitarian assistance should be intact, and we will now wait to see what happens to it if Israeli authorities do hand it over to humanitarian aid groups, as the Foreign Office of the UK has demanded, or what happens to it.
All right, we leave it there. So the port of Ashdod, of course, is one of Israel's 3 main cargo ports, and that's obviously the destination, if not actually just left off at sea. But we'll wait. Thank you for the latest on this, and we will try and get you more updates. We assure you that if we hear any news whatsoever coming from there, we will make sure that we update you. But that, in the meantime, is Blake Sifton in Tel Aviv, Israel, giving us the latest on those that have been taken into the hands of the Israelis at the moment, and we'll see what happens.